Welcome to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I'm your host, Thurston J.Y. Manly, your speaker's favorite speaker, the pugilist of pontification, Thurston Manly. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoy this episode. The theme for this episode is When Worlds Collide. When Worlds Collide. The first story title is We Can Play Army. Second story is Where Do We Pee? Yes. Where Do We Pee is the second story. And the first story is, I'm going to say, Can we play Army? Can we play Army? And where do we pee? These were stories that came to mind with the theme of When Worlds Collide. Because my worlds, I have a lot of different worlds. And most of the times I can get them categorized by names. I have a couple names, as you even know, from Thurston to George to JY or JYD. And based on where I know you from is how you say my name. So you are from one of my multiverses of life. And I appreciate you very much for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe, follow, like, and review. Please leave more reviews. That really helps the podcast out in general, so we can get advertisers and make some money. And I make some money off this podcast. But besides that, follow me on Instagram. Manly Story at gmail.com is the email. And what is the Instagram? I always forget the Instagram. My Instagram is Manly. No, it's not. Manly Mythical Story is the Instagram. Manly Mythical Story. Please like and follow. I am trying to break 200 followers. I'm kind of at 188. So Manly Mythical Story is the IG. And we also have a Facebook as well as YouTube, Manly Mythical Story Emporium. So Manly Mythical Story on IG, manlystory@gmail.com. So you can send me an email. That would be much appreciated. Love you guys for listening. Enjoy your stories. When Worlds Collide is the theme. First story, can we play Army? Second story, where do we pee? Thank you guys. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Can we play Army? Now, I'm an only child. I was born an only child, and to this day, I'm still an only child. And I've always had two very active parents, if they were working, which they were most of my life. I have prolific stories of the times when they were not working because it stood out so much. Both of my parents work a day job. They also run Manly photography studios. Please check them out. They're located in Lewisburg, North Carolina, and they do weddings and proms, dances, whatever event you may have. Manly photography. Find them at Lewisburg, North Carolina. Please give them a call. They're my parents. They're wonderful. They're great people, and they do photography. That would mean their weekends are locked down during weddings, and Sundays maybe doing family reunions or churches. And this world makes it so a child would get off of the school bus and go to his grandfather's house, because my parents were usually working past 5, past the time I would get off of the bus. So you usually get out of school at 3. Parents don't get home to 5. You were probably a latchkey kid, or well after 5, because my mother would get off at 5 in Raleigh, and that's another 45 minutes to get home. And what my parents kind of did to substitute for that would be I get off at 3, do my homework, watching TV, and I don't know if they felt guilty or they just wanted me to be diverse. They would put me in different things. So I wound up doing Boy Scouts for a little while. Then I quit Boy Scouts because I never got the uniform. My parents didn't really commit to buying the uniform, and a lot of the kids in the Boy Scouts at the time at that troop were mainly very outdoorsy hunting, white kids. Didn't share the culture with them at all. I really stuck out like a sore thumb. After I did the boxcar derby, I was like, this is probably the best it's going to get for me. So I'm done. I'm done doing this. I'm done doing scouts. Then I moved to karate, did that for a couple years. Then I got bored of that. I punched a kid in the face. He lost his tooth. That was an awesome moment in my life. And I just got tired of it. You had to drive the bun, which was a good 10-15 minute drive. And I was always late because my dad got there late. So the class would already be started. And I didn't like the way that felt. And then I did football in like third to fifth grade. And 1 year, my parents didn't sign me up for anything. And this caused my world to really collide because I actually got to stay at my grandfather's house longer, unsupervised, unwashed, or unpreparing for any of those events. Because if you do karate, you got to get your gi and your belt and have all that ready. Football, had to make sure I had my cleats, mouthpiece, and everything like that. Boy Scouts, didn't have a uniform, didn't have to get that ready. So that was a good thing. But you had to have your book or your checklist. But now, for a school year, I didn't have anything to do on the side. And I didn't have anything to do during the summer. I didn't have any sleepaway camps. And when that happened, that meant I got to hang out with some of the neighborhood kids, which was pretty normal at my home. But this is now at my grandfather's house. So this became a new world to me. My world of adventure, very organized, very thought out and planned adventure now rested in the hands of these children of Southside Lewisburg. And those were David, my friend David, I won't give you his last name, David, and oh man, the first name is very unique. Well, it's David and Taran. And those were my homies. I played with them, David and Taran and Carlos. I was hesitating to say Taran because then you'll know who he is. But Taran, David, and Carlos were my homies. And they lived in a neighborhood that was behind a set of houses where my grandfather lived. And so they would kind of walk through to the store and they saw me on the porch one day and they recognized me from school. And it's like, oh, you live here? And I'm like, no, this is my grandfather's house. And we wrestled. We played wrestling in the front yard. And they would come by. And they did this every day when we got off of school. They would come. I do my homework. They come over and play. We do play wrestling. We do hide and seek. But I never left the yard. And I just thought that's what you do. You stay where you're supposed to at your grandfather's house. But these guys had convinced me, it's like, you know what? We should go play Army. And these guys that lived over in this neighborhood, they were used to having unsupervised time and being able to leave the house, be unwatched, go where they want. And so we started walking to the store. We'll walk across this long bridge, which seems like miles. I just saw this bridge 2 weeks ago. It is nowhere near an eighth of a mile. not even nowhere near a tenth, 5% of a mile. This is a very short walk, but it seemed like a lot then. And they would go to other friends' houses, the guys I didn't know that were older kids, and they would go to different convenience stores that were downtown through areas where you would probably be walking past drug dealers and things like that. But I never got bothered by that because I would walk through that neighborhood in elementary school, and my dad's a probation officer, so they recognized me. But when they wanted to play Army, that kind of ended. Because we decided we should play Army. And in part of Army, you needed to play reconnaissance. And you needed to have guns. And you needed to have grenades. And somebody would be an enemy. And you had to hunt them down and shoot them. And, it was a different time. So we weren't worried about the violence. My parents weren't worried about the violence. As far as just seeing violence on TV. Or doing things with grenades or war. But the problem came in. We had to go to a special place to play war. We went to the local lumber yard. The lumber yard was kind of an area about a half a block between our houses. And it was new. It used to be like a furniture store, furniture warehouse. It was like where they stored it off the train tracks. So you walk across these train tracks, and then there was this new barbed wire fence, new gravel ground. And the idea is like, we got to sneak into this fence. But first, we crawled through this tube, which I do not suggest to this day. It was a drainage tube, the size of me, a little bit bigger than me as a child. And we crawled through that under a train trestle. It was not I don't think it's a trestle because it's not a bridge, but just that train mound, and it was a drainage ditch. So we clawed through that. This thing is about 30 feet. And I just remember to this day, I was slightly traumatized by it. I remember the water in that little rib tube that I'm crawling through, and it's splashing up, and I've seen the other light at the other end. So we crawl through playing Army and come out on the other end. There could have been snakes in there, could have got tetanus, thing could have fell on us, but I got through. And when I got through to the other side, it's the barbed wire fence. We got to figure out how to get in. Now, I'm not keeping track of time. It's now 4:45. It's about time for my parents to get home. I don't care. I'm playing Army. I'm crawling through this dangerous area. And we see the wood yard, barbed wire fence. And for those that don't know what a lumber yard is, or I'm calling it a wood yard, but a lumber yard is just bundles of fence posts, 2x4s, some size pieces of wood the size of train trestles, and some that actually might have been the train trestles that they kind of moved to build this yard were stacked up. So we got under that fence, the barbed wire fence, because there was an area where like an animal could get through, or a elementary school child. And we went in there and played Army, and we were shooting, and I get pinned down with them, and I decide to sneak out under the other side of the barbed wire fence. So I sneak out, and I'm going to shoot him back through the fence. And as soon as I'm shooting, I see my dad standing on the other end, just staring at me. And give me the grinding teeth, gnashing teeth, and just like squinted eyes and get your tail over, mumbling like get your hind parts over this way. He didn't say hind parts or tail. He definitely said a crooked letter, and pointed and told me to get over there. And he got over there. I was like, I'm gonna die. So I'm running around the outside of the fence. Get up there. I was like, what? He's like, boy, you supposed to have over here, and you don't supposed to be over here. I'm coming here at 5 to get you, to take you home, and you ain't even where you supposed to be. And I was like, oh gosh. He's like, you just lucky you never went into that fence, because that's breaking and entering, and them people can shoot you, and these sticks you got look like guns. You'd be dead. I was like, you're right. It's a good thing I never went in there. That was a lie. Definitely it was in there. But I shot my hands like, oh, I'm sorry. You were so right. I'm glad I never went in there. My friend Taran went in there. I would never go in there. Follow them. That's a bad idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's a bad idea. I was like, okay. So I did get out of a little bit of trouble. But the world of organization and structured play, known as my father, definitely collided with my newly discovered lease on freedom, and that kind of ended it. I had to stay in my grandfather's yard. My parents didn't stop me from playing with him, but I just didn't want to get in trouble anymore. It was kind of a known unknown to say it without saying it. But that is, can we play Army? And so no is the answer. Thank you guys. Where do we pee? That is the question. Where does one urinate? When I moved to Pittsburgh, I began a slow advance in my career and became a senior representative, and eventually worked in what we call the appeals and grievances unit of my job. And this meant a promotion. But my wife was considerably more advanced, without stop, rolling rock. A rolling stone gathers no moss, and she has none. She is clean and shiny. She kept it moving like a drive-by, and she got advanced. And when she got advanced, she became a subject matter expert. And as a subject matter expert, that means she got to travel. But when both of us are advancing our career at our company, people start noticing us, start talking to us. There were a few minorities at the company at that location, and people would ask us to hang out, and we really stuck out because we're both black. And they would see us, and it's easy to keep track of the black married couple that work at the same company that started doing the same job a few months ago, and now their careers are kind of branching apart. And we got to know a lot of people, and one person in particular invited us to her house. She invited some other people from work. So my work world, in this world collides theme, was about to collide with my outer work world, my free time world. And that was fine with me because I did hang out with people in my previous career. And we hung out outside of work all the time. But this is the first time that I'm at a career that is a corporate America job, really doing something, working at an insurance company and going to hang out outside of work. So it's really going from professional to very casual. And there will be drinking. So I'm invited to this party, and I said, okay, but my wife has to go out of town. So she kind of just drives with me to the house and waves and for 5 seconds and says hi to everybody. And like, oh, I got to go to the airport to catch a plane to go somewhere else. So she leaves and she drives off to the airport to fly to be in Philadelphia, I think, to work that weekend. But I stayed at the party. I was invited to somebody's house. I usually bring flowers or wine. Since people are drinking, I bring wine. I was not aware of the amount of drinking that was going to happen at this Pittsburgh house. And you first pull up to the house, and I get the address, and I notice there's no driveway. So we had to go to the end of 6 houses, and these yards are about an acre apiece, and make a left on this road. And they had a shared driveway that went behind the back of the houses. And I guess that makes sense because then it wouldn't be everybody stopping every 5 seconds to turn on that road, because it looks like a busy and curvy road. And so you make the left at the end once you pass the houses, and then you make another left to go back behind them, and you go back to the house that you wanted to see. And this road, the road doesn't end their property. There's property, they have about 20 to 30 yards of property on the other side of this shared driveway road that goes among the back of their houses. And like most houses in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, they had a basement. But I pull up to the house, I pull up into the yard, straight on the grass, closer to the house side of the driveway, and go in and present myself, say, hey, here's some wine. And they had a chili cook-off. And you see like 9 crock pots. It was for money. I was like, theme parties. I was like, I like that. I can get down with that. I've thrown quite a few theme parties in my day. And it's chili cook-off. Everybody votes. And so you put in a vote. You select the numbers, all blind taste testing. I'm like, great. They go through the vote. The person wins. I'm like, oh man, yeah, that chili was good. He's like, yeah, I put all this money. We did Andouille. We did this and this. Great. And he's like, all right, we're going to go outside and we're going to play some horseshoes. I was like, oh man, I get down with horseshoes. I don't have a problem with playing that. I was like, where are we going to play? And so we walk out the back and we go, past the beer fridge, because the fridge in the basement is dedicated to beer only. Grab me a beer, walk out there with them. They set up the post and they hit the post into the ground. And now this cleared area that's on the other side of this driveway, it's cleared grass, and then it has like this higher grass that's almost, to my waist. But the cleared area, we're gonna set the post here. And they was like, all right, well, this is the cleared area, so we're gonna put a post here. We're gonna put a post here. Now give me that bag. I was like, what? Okay, this is grocery bag. He's like, yeah, because if we drank too much, you're not gonna want to be really walking all the way back to the house. It's like, yeah, that's true, I guess. But mind you, I gotta drive home, so I'm not gonna have a drink too much problem. And why would I drink too much where I don't want to walk back to the house? He's like, man, and I guess he saw it on my face. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, we're just designating a pee area. It's like, a pee area? Yeah, we just need an area to make sure we pee and the kids don't run through it. The kids are gonna run through the pee area. This is our concern. Because yeah, there's kids at this drinking party for work people. I was like, okay, what's the bag for? I was the bag is going to designate it. So let me get the bag. So they take the bag, walk about 2-3 feet into the high grass, probably actually more like 5 feet into the grass. So a good distance into the high grass, and tie this bag to a bunch, like a good handful bunch of grass, and close it up. And it's like, this is the pee area. So if you have to pee, instead of walking all the way back to the house, the whole 30 yards back to the house and use the bathroom, you can just pee in these bushes and we don't have to wait in between horseshoe throwing. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm probably good, because I then saw one of my friends from work, and he was changing the wiper blade while they were watching him play. I was like, I might go help him out. Y'all go ahead and play. Y'all already got a team. He said, all right, cool. So I'll go back, and I'm not really helping him put the blade on. We're just both talking about these people, because he doesn't drink at all, and I got to drive through a strange area, so I don't want any problems with going through that area while I'm drinking. And so they tie off the pee area, and I go right back to where I need to be and help put the wiper blade on. And he says to me that they're getting pretty trashed. And I was like, yeah, they are. They marked the pee area off. He's like, that's a common thing. Sometimes, they get so drunk they can't figure out where to pee, and the bag is kind of like a Marco Polo, where's Waldo? There it is, pee area situation. So they're not walking all through pee at the night. I was like, this is a common problem. He said, yes, it is a common problem. I'm like, this is amazing. And so they're getting drunk. And you slowly begin to see the need for them to mark a pee area, because they threw a horseshoe in grass that was maybe 1 or 2 inches, and it hit the post, and it stood up on its side and rolled back around and landed flat on the grass. True, this horseshoe was like one of those, I guess, plastic cover on it, so it was green, but they couldn't find it. I see it from where I'm at, on the other side of this driveway, 10 yards away. I see it, but they're like looking, can't figure out where the horseshoe went to. And when they finally find it, it's like, oh, I thought this was a red one. Like, you're holding all these other green horseshoes for your throw, but you still thought it was red. That's how drunk they were. So before they leave, I decided I need to use the indoor pee area and bounce, because you do not want to be on a road with people that need a plastic bag to designate a place to pee when there's indoor plumbing. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Well, I thank you guys for listening to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. Once again, I'm your host, Thurston J. White Manley. I hope you enjoyed your 2 stories today from When Worlds Collide. My final thought, if you're a first-time listener, I usually do a wrap-up here at the end. My final thought is, when you invite people over, make sure your plumbing is working appropriately. I have been invited to people's houses, and I understand the toilet situation. Maybe you could flood a toilet, stop up a toilet, but, make somebody aware of what you need to do with the handle, jiggle, hold, keep it up, kill a goat, whatever you got to do to make sure that the toilet flushes. Tell us that. That's all that I ask. And also, if I'm staying over for the shower, let me know if it drains properly. Because if you walking around with fungal feet, I don't want your fungal feet. I went to somebody's house. I'm not going to say this family member's house or this region of this family, but they're in-laws. And we stayed at the house, showered. I took the shower, and I started noticing that the water was pooling at the bottom of the shower, had a slow drain. So I don't want to be getting the athlete's foot. So I put one of my feet on the right side of the shower, which is towards the door, in the towel rack. And then I put my left foot in the soap dish. So now I'm doing like this blood sport, Jean-Claude Van Damme split, trying to shower and like wash myself. And I'm teetering back and forth with the shower water and bubbling up, still holding this daggone split that would make Van Damme proud. And it's not comfortable. It's not what you want. Because when I get out, my bottom of my left foot was fine. That was in the soap dish, which is very dangerous because it could have slipped, fall, bust my head wide open. But when I get out, my right foot is tingling because now I got the track marks in the bottom of my foot while I tried to shower. And I'm limping, and it's like, how did you get injured? I tried to shower and stay out of the cesspool that y'all were creating in the bottom of the thing. So if you having people over, please snake the drains. Make sure the toilet's in order. Or at least tell somebody. So then I won't go in there thinking I'm gonna have a shower like I'm in the first world or something. Please do better. Everybody, do better out there. And go out and vote. Voting should be started in your area. And I have early voting in the state of North Carolina, which I'll probably be voting tomorrow. So go out, vote, do your part. Use your rights. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Next week's episode, I will get the theme. I think Moth. This theme came from the Moth. All the themes for this second season will be coming from the Moth stories on Instagram. So I will be getting all the themes from those guys. And I really, really appreciate you guys for listening. So like, follow, and share. Don't just keep this to yourself. Have a good week, guys. Thank you.